Levi Bellfield. Levi Bellfield was born Levi Rabbits on 17th of May 1968 at the West Middlesex Hospital, Isleworth, Greater London, to Jean Rabbits and Joseph Bellfield. He is of Romani descent. When Bellfield was 10 years old, his father died from leukemia. Bellfield and his siblings, 2 brothers and 2 sisters, were brought up on a southwest London council estate. He attended Forge Lane Junior School, Rectory Secondary School, then Feltham Comprehensive. Bellfield's first conviction was as a child for burglary. In 1981, he was convicted of assaulting a police officer in 1990. He also has convictions for theft and driving offences. By 2002, Bellfield had 9 convictions and had spent almost a year in prison for them. In an interview with the media, Detective Chief Inspector Colin Sutton of the Metropolitan Police, who led the murder investigation, said of Bellfield, "When we started dealing with him, he came across as very jokey, like he's your best mate, but he's a cunning individual, violent. He can switch from being nice to being nasty, instantly." Bellfield searched for victims on streets he knew well. Detectives tracked down some of his ex-girlfriends, who all described a similar pattern of behavior when they got involved with him. He was lovely at first, charming, then completely controlling and evil. They all said the same, said Detective Sergeant Joe Brunt. At the time of the attacks, Bellfield ran a wheel clamping business which operated in and around West Drayton, where he lived. Bellfield was seen driving around in his van, talking to young girls at bus stops while under police surveillance. Amélie Delagrange was seen by CCTV cameras which showed her walking towards Twickenham Green after she missed her stop on the bus home. She may have stopped and spoken to Bellfield between the last 2 sightings of her. She was attacked shortly afterwards. Bellfield was arrested early on the morning of 22 November 2004 on suspicion of the murder of Delagrange. On 25 November, he was charged with 3 counts of grape in Surrey and West London. On the 9th December 2004, he was charged with assaulting a woman in Twickenham between 1995 and 1997 and remanded in custody. Bellfield was rearrested and charged with Delagrange's murder on 2nd March 2006, along with the attempted murder of Kate Sheedy and the attempted murder and causing grievous bodily harm to Irma Dragoshi. On 25 May 2006, Bellfield was charged with the murder of Marcia McDonnell. Bellfield was found guilty of the murders of McDonnell and Delagrange, as well as the attempted murder of Sheedy, on 25 February 2008, more than 3 years after the last of the 3 attacks. The following day, he was sentenced to life imprisonment with a whole life order. Bellfield was not in court to hear his sentence, as he had refused to attend court owing to what he said was unfair press coverage following his conviction. On 30th of March 2010, Bellfield was charged with Dowler's abduction and murder, predating the earliest of the other 3 charges by almost a year. He was named as the prime suspect in connection with the murder in the immediate aftermath of his first trial in 2008. As a result, the inquest into Dowler's death was adjourned. On 6 October 2010, he appeared in court via video link and was formally charged with 1 count each of attempted abduction, actual abduction, and murder. Bellfield's second trial began at the Old Bailey on 10 May 2011, and on 23 June, the jury found him guilty. He was again sentenced to life imprisonment the following day, and the trial judge once again imposed a whole life order. The trial of Bellfield on another charge, that of the attempted abduction of an 11-year-old girl who was offered a lift in the Walton area by a man in a red car on the day preceding this murder, was abandoned due to newspapers publishing prejudicial material. On 27 January 2016, Surrey Police announced that Bellfield had admitted for the first time abducting, raping and murdering Dowler after being interviewed about whether he had an accomplice. Bellfield later issued a denial that he made any such confession, but Surrey Police stood by its earlier statement. As of 2020, Bellfield was imprisoned in HM Prison Frankland in County Durham. Bellfield fathered 11 children with 5 different women, the 3 youngest with his most recent girlfriend, Emma Mills. In May 2022, the Ministry of Justice confirmed that Bellfield was engaged and had applied to marry while in prison. He proposed to a woman who had started writing to him 2 years previously before becoming a visitor on a regular basis. Bellfield would need the permission of the governor at HM Prison Frankland. In June 2023, it was announced that Bellfield had converted to Islam and taken the name Yusuf Rahim. Wayne Couzens. On 20th of February 2021, Wayne Couzens booked a white Vauxhall Crossland from a vehicle hire company in Dover. At 07 GMT on 3 March, he completed a 12-hour shift at the US Embassy in London before travelling to Kent to collect the hire car. He then drove back to London, where he was recorded as being in Earl's Court and on Battersea Bridge. After arriving in Clapham, he again drove to Earl's Court before returning to Clapham at 21:23. At around 21, Everard left a friend's house on Leithwaite Road near Clapham Junction, west of Clapham Common. She walked along the A205 South Circular Road across the Common, en route to her Brixton Hill home. She spoke to her boyfriend on her phone for about 15 minutes and agreed to meet him the next day. At 21:28, she was seen on doorbell camera footage on Poinders Road and 4 minutes later on the dashcam of a passing police car. At 21:34, Couzens, who had parked the Vauxhall on the pavement outside Poinders Court, stopped Everard and showed her his police warrant card before handcuffing her. The trial judge later said that he had probably claimed that he was arresting her for having breached COVID guidelines. Couzens and Everard were twice captured by bus CCTV. The first instance at 21:35 showed them beside the hired Vauxhall, and the second, at 21:38, showed the Vauxhall's number plate. Around this time, Couzens and Everard entered the car, and Couzens drove to Kent. The route of the car was retrospectively tracked using CCTV and ANPR. By 23:43, Couzens and Everard were in Dover and had transferred to Couzens's personal seat car. Between 23:53 and 0:57 on March, Couzens's mobile phone connected to cell sites in the Shepherdswell area. It is believed that he raped Everard at some point between midnight and 01:45. At 02:34, Couzens purchased drinks from a Dover petrol station. It is likely that he had strangled Everard using his police duty belt by this time. Couzens then drove to Hodes Wood near Ashford, where he owned a plot of land. His car was captured on CCTV in the area between 03:22 and 06:32 before driving back to Dover to switch back into his rental car before returning it at 08:26. After Couzens returned the hire car, he drove his personal car to Sandwich, Kent, disposing of Everard's mobile phone in one of the town's watercourses at 09:21. Later that day, Everard's boyfriend contacted the police after she did not meet him. In the days after the murder, Couzens told senior colleagues that he was suffering from stress and no longer wanted to carry a gun. On 5 March, shortly after 11 AM, Couzens bought and filled a petrol container at a service station in Whitfield. He then returned to Hodes Wood, where his car was captured on CCTV at 12:37 and burned Everard's body inside a refrigerator. At 13:47, he bought 2 large builder's bags from B&Q before returning to Hodes Wood on 7 March, where he used one of the bags to dispose of Everard's remains in a pond. On 8 March, he reported himself ill from work, handing in his equipment, including his police belt and handcuffs. On 9 March, Couzens was arrested in Deal, first on suspicion of Everard's kidnapping, and then a day later on suspicion of her murder. Everard's remains were discovered in a densely wooded area near Ashford on 10th March. Following their identification, Couzens was charged with her kidnapping and murder. Vigils were held for Everard on the evening of 13th March. The vigil on Clapham Common, near where she had been kidnapped, led to a controversial police response and 4 arrests for breaches of COVID-19 regulations. The murder gave rise to widespread debate about the role of police in British society and women's safety in the UK. A public inquiry chaired by Lady Elish Angelini KC was commissioned to investigate how Couzens was permitted to serve as a police officer despite an extensive history of alleged sexual offences. The first part of the report, published in February 2024, found that Couzens had a history of alleged sexual offending and that failings in the vetting process allowed him to become a police officer. At 16:20 on 10 March, police searching Hodes Wood found human remains in a large builder's bag, approximately 100 metres, 110 YD, from Couzens's plot. Police in Dover also searched the site of a former body repair garage previously owned by Couzens's family at the top of the White Cliffs. On 12th March, Everard's body was identified through dental records. 2 days later, police focused a search operation around the rope walk in Sandwich and cordoned off approximately 1 square mile, 2.6 kilometres, of the town. On the 16th of March, police continued to comb woodland in Kent, and police divers in Sandwich searched underwater for Everard's mobile phone. Everard's funeral took place on 20th of May at Heslington Church in Heslington, near York. The results of a post-mortem held at William Harvey Hospital in Ashford were released on 1st June. It concluded that Everard had died from compression of the neck. On 8th June, Couzens pleaded guilty to Everard's kidnapping and rape. On 9th July, he pleaded guilty to her murder. On 30 September, he was sentenced to life imprisonment with a whole life order.